I mean, this AFC is all over the place right now. You got the Chiefs and the Dolphins at 4-1. And everybody else is just kind of struggling their way through the year so far this year. I mean, a lot of teams in the AFC that we thought were going to be contenders this year are pretenders. I mean, Cincinnati had a really nice game this past week. Joe Burrow looked more like himself. Jamar Chase caught like 15 balls. I think that was the franchise record, which...
When do you double him? At what point in that game are you the Cardinals and you just say, okay, we're just going to double this guy and not let him beat us. We're going to let somebody else beat us. T. Higgins is out.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tyler Boyd. You can, or Trent Irwin. You can try and beat. I just completely dumbfounded by that coaching move to not, at any point in that game, double Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
You're just going to let him continuing to get 3 touchdowns, but you say 15 catches, just had an incredible game. Everybody thought, oh, DJ Moore, best wide receiver of the week on Thursday night. Jamar Chase said, not so fast, my friend.
Dude, and it's so ridiculous because, like, I didn't play DJ Moore in any of my matchups, and I was like, let's go. I got blessed this week because basically in all my fantasy leagues, I have the most points allowed and the top 3 or 2 or 1 in points for. So that's been me so far this year. So I was like, let's go. Didn't have to play the top fantasy performer this week. And then Jamar Chase went off for 50 in, like, 3 of my leagues I was playing against him. So gotta love that. But I mean, the Bengals looked better, that's for sure, but there's still some serious concern there, I think, to say the least, especially with their record, how it looks so far. The Chargers haven't played up to their ability so far this year. Herbert's banged up with a finger injury, so you gotta have concerns there. Baltimore, man, I mean, Baltimore was thought to be a legitimate contender, and
the Ravens should be 5-0. The Ravens should have beat the Colts and they should have beat the Steelers. They should be 5-0 right now. It is preposterous that not only are they not 5-0, they're not even 4-1. I don't understand how you lose that game to Pittsburgh. All you have to do if you're Lamar is not throw the pick and then you kick the field goal. Now, Ravens fans, I'm not going to jump on Lamar too much because his receivers dropped anything and everything. Yeah. Bateman dropped one in the end zone. Andrews dropped one in the end zone.
3 drops.
Zay Flowers. And he fell one time as well. Aguilar. We talking Aguilar.
Yeah.
He can't catch nothing, man. We knew that from Philly days.
Oh,
so as much as I want to sit there and blame Lamar, yes, his wide receivers did struggle. But in the clutch, fumble and an interception.
Yep.
In the final 5 minutes of the game. You just can't do those types of things when you're in such a hotly contested defensive battle like that.
What'd you think of the zero blitz call? I think in that situation you can't do it. I mean, obviously in hindsight, it looks like it's easy to say that, but
right. I don't. I mean, clearly they knew, but I don't know. I wouldn't have done it in that situation, but I still think the Ravens are right up there with those teams. Like, if they win those 2 games, our entire opinion about the Ravens is oh man, they're right up there with the Eagles and the 49ers is probably better than the Chiefs and the best team in football. I mean,
but I think the question, if the Ravens were 4-1 or God forbid 5-0 right now, I think the question that we're having is Lamar Jackson has not been playing like Lamar Jackson, dude.
No, he hasn't. But I still would say that this is one of the best teams in the AFC. I still think this is a team that can go out and compete or beat the Chiefs. This is a team that can go out and compete and beat the Bills, the Dolphins. I mean, they were up 21 points on the Dolphins last year and blew that game. Now, I know it's a different year, obviously, but that shows you, that they're right up there with some of the best teams in football, and they have these dumb mental late game lapses that cost them wins against these teams that they play to their competition so much. I feel they went in the last week, kicked the shit out of the Browns. That was the one time where I was like, damn, the Ravens really imposed their will. They showed that they were the better team, and they didn't play down to their competition. They smoked them. This week, complete opposite. They played right into the Steelers' hands. There's no reason why Kenny Pickett should be winning that game.
No.
Love you, Jaden, but there's no reason that the Steelers should have won that game.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it was a George Pickens single coverage, and I think we got to start having a discussion about Marlon Humphrey, man. I don't think, he's been burned.
He was coming back from injury.
Okay, but he's been burned by, I mean, I just remember Jamar Chase, basically becoming his father.
Okay. Well, George Pickens said he's a top 5 receiver in football, so, I don't know.
I mean, I think anybody looks like a top 5 wide receiver against Marlon Humphrey right now.
There it is.
It's
well, and you also said he got burned by Jamar Chase. That guy just put up a 50 burger this past week. So
but he touts himself as one of the best corners in football, and he's not.
Rightfully, yeah. Yeah, no, and I agree with you on that. That there are question marks, but the foundation there for the Ravens is right where it needs to be. It's just correcting a couple of things here and there, and I think they're going to be fine. So you talked about the AFC. So we mentioned the Chiefs, and you mentioned the Dolphins. Are the Dolphins really up there? They lost to the Bills. The Bills lost to the Jags.
Yeah.
We're going to do the whole transitive property thing here. It's like, how far does that keep going down? Then the Jags lost to the Texans. It's like, how far do we keep going, before it's like, who really is the best team? And every team has showed their flaws. The Chiefs have been a lot better since, obviously, week 1. They got Chris Jones and Kelsey back, which rightfully made probably the biggest difference in the world for them. They lost that game to the Lions because they just dropped passes. I mean, that's really truly what it came down to on that opening game, is that they lost it because nobody could catch a ball between Sky Moore and, oh man, Kadarius Toney. Feel free, bud. But
waiver wire picker of the year.
There we go. There we go. Outside of those, so I would say the Chiefs, Dolphins, Jags, Bills, Ravens.
I think that's it. Because the Steelers lead the division. I don't believe in them. I don't think anybody.
Bengals in there?
I know, dude. I mean,
the Bengals and Chargers are right there, I feel.
I think the Chargers are probably closer than the Bengals, not only because they have a better record, but I mean, Staley has to turn it around. He doesn't have a choice. If he doesn't turn it around this year, if he can't get this team to the playoffs, I don't care about Justin Fields' finger injury. It's not on his throwing hand. So you should be able to execute and at least get this team to the playoffs. If he can't do it this year, then Staley's out of town. I've been saying it for a long time. He should have been fired.
He might already be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might already be. I mean, he made boneheaded plays in their last win against the Raiders. He made a boneheaded play against the Vikings. 4th and 1 at your own 25, up 4. What are you doing with like a minute 50 left? The Vikings have no timeouts. I understand you get the first down, the game's over. But if you don't, you're giving them the ball at the 25-yard line. And if the Vikings weren't so brain dead and such a terrible organization, they probably would have won that game.
Yeah.
The Bengals have the Seahawks at the 49ers and the Bills the next 3 games. We're going to find out a lot about this Cincinnati team, because if they go 2-1 in those games, I mean, if they go 3-0, holy shit. But if they go 2-1, they're right back, man.
Oh, yeah.
They are right back in it, and there is a conversation for them to possibly be the best team in the AFC at that point.
Yeah.
I think right now it's the Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champ, tied for the best record in the AFC. And in my opinion,
I'm a Chiefs hater.
You know what?
I'm a Chiefs hater.
Do you know what separates this team from all other Chiefs team? Their defense.
Yeah.
This is the best defense that they've had since Mahomes has got there. They are stacked on every level of the defense. They are absolutely stacked. From Reed at safety to Chris Jones up front, they have everything you could want from a defense. They allowed 20 points to the Vikings this past week. That was the first time they've allowed 20 points since week 1, and they didn't have Chris Jones.
Yeah.
The other games, I think it was like 17-9 to the Jags. It was 41-10 to the Bears, and the Bears got a score with like a minute left in that game. And then who was the other game? I can't remember who the other game was that they had. Was it a divisional game? Raiders? No, I can't remember what it was. Anyways, they've done extremely well on the defensive side, which I think is a total change compared to everything else. Because it used to be.
Did you mention the Bears?
No. Yeah, I mentioned the Bears.
Okay.
But it used to be the Chiefs would just have to outscore everybody.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's, we can kind of rely on our defense. When was that ever a thing with Mahomes? They beat the Jets on Sunday Night Football.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I think something that sets this team apart a little bit from the past Chiefs teams is I think Pacheco is getting better every single game. And I think that you can rely on the run game. Not rely, maybe. But I think that you can turn to the running game more than you've been able to. Yeah, for sure. And you haven't been able to do that as a Chiefs team in the past. So, personally, I'm still going the Dolphins. The Dolphins had a rough week against the Bills.
They don't have the D, man.
Okay.
They have
it on paper. And then Jalen Ramsey's going to come back.
When Ramsey comes back, yeah, let me see it. But, like if you're going to put up 70 and 40 a game against the Giants and the fucking Broncos, like, that's not really telling me much. Then you go to Buffalo, and look what happened there. Your defense allowed 6-7 touchdowns. I mean,
yeah.
I can't.
In Buffalo. Which
I know, but it's also in September when the weather's nice.
Yeah.
They lucked out, the Dolphins, because they had to play New England and Buffalo on the road both in September. Both cold weather in their division that they don't have to go in November, December and play in shit weather. So they really lucked out with that. I need to see them against an upper echelon team go shot for shot with them, like the Chiefs or I would say the Bills, but the Bills kicked the shit out of them. But then the Bills lose to the Jags. So it's like, who is the best team? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm leaning the Chiefs, but I've seen their flaws too.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough to make a decision right now. I'm not going to go Mr. Pfizer and the Chiefs. I'm going to still rock with the Dolphins.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm still.
That's got to be one of my favorite comments of the year. Is Aaron Rodgers calling him Mr. Pfizer? That was just too fucking good, dude. God.
And then they had a clip today where Pfizer released they tweeted something out of Mr. Pfizer, like a jersey, and it was Mr. Pfizer on the back, and they're playing to it, and they showed it to Rodgers, and Rodgers was just like, interesting. He was like. Such a corrupt organization. Like he started going off.
I do think it's funny. I do think it's really funny how Kelsey kind of just like played it off. Like he just laughed and he was like, "Yeah, that's a good one." He's like, "I got to give him credit where credit's due." But yeah, I think the Chiefs they're one of the only teams that have really been there, whereas a lot of these teams they haven't been to the Super Bowl. I know the Bengals have, but the Bills haven't, the Ravens haven't, the Jags haven't, the Dolphins haven't. I think that really helps out, come postseason time. I personally, if it's not the Chiefs, I'm going with the Ravens still, man. I'm still believing in the Ravens.
Okay.
I think they're a player or two away from being 5-0, and I just got to think that this team, as long as, the big thing is the injuries. If they can get away from this damn injury black cloud, they're going to be fine. Yeah. I think they still win this division. And I think that they make some noise in the playoffs because I think they match up really well with a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
So I'm if it's not the Chiefs, I'm sticking with the Ravens.
Yeah, and I think the Ravens, no matter how the offense looks right now, that defense is the second best defense on PFF right now overall. So they've been balling out despite the injuries. So
who's been a huge surprise, because coming out of college, I did not think this guy was going to be that great. I thought it was he dropped, which is why they picked him. But Kyle Hamilton, dude, has been absolutely incredible. He's been one of the best safeties in football, and I got to give the Ravens. Why would I ever question the Ravens front office when it comes to draft decisions outside of a wide receiver? I don't know. Yeah. But I will give them an immense amount of credit because they nailed that pick.
Yeah, no, credit to the Ravens. I mean, they're always a team that's going to be in it, especially in the AFC. So